and started a woman's hatzalah by women for women, and we'll be hearing from her very shortly.
Of the show.
If you do want to get involved with the judge, who we're just now welcoming live, then please email us now, rabbisunscripted@jle.org.uk, and you can be a part of the show still tonight.
Very, very good. So this really is a very, very special moment to welcome Judge Rachel Freier onto the show, joining us live from New York. Judge Freier has, she'll tell us much more about her amazing life story as we go along this evening. Just so we know just now, obviously we're in court. Rabbi Benji, so obviously have to watch what we say. Anything you do say can be taken on as evidence. But Judge Rachel Freier is a civil court judge in New York, but it didn't always, it certainly didn't begin that way. And we are really honored to have you. I know you've got a really busy schedule with all the things that you do. I don't want to give the game away because we'll talk about it as we go on tonight. So you've given up your very precious time to come on tonight to Rabbis Unscripted. So thank you so much in advance. We've got a bunch of questions. We're hoping for some call-ins as well. So welcome, Judge Rachel Freier. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Judge Freier, I presume that's how I'm supposed to be able to address you. I'm Rabbi Benji, by the way. I know you met Rabbi Dov yesterday, but thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. Just really a general question about your life story. Really fascinating how you went from a Hasidic Beis Yaakov high school to a legal secretary, then civil judge. Just understanding a little bit of your story, how you reached to where you are today, and to get onto the incredible work that you did.
Thank you. So actually what you're really trying to make me do is take a story of 30 years and I cut it short in like less than 30 minutes. So my story is one of the Beis Yaakov girl who took a course to become a legal secretary. And I always wanted to do whatever the Torah allowed me to do. My mother always taught us you could do anything you want, as long as it isn't illegal, immoral, or against the Torah. So I grew up knowing that there was a whole world out there filled with opportunities. So as I was going from, office and job to job and getting more money, I said, maybe I can do more. Maybe I could become a lawyer, because I started to work for lawyers that were younger than me. But for me, it was always important not to give up my background, not to give up where I came from. That was just too important to me. So just a slow journey. I didn't want to stop making challah. I didn't want to stop, being the wife of the home. So it was a long journey. I didn't start college until I was 30. At that point, I was already a mother. During my first semester, I gave birth to my fourth child. And by the time I started law school 6 years later, I already had my 6 children. So with lots of siyata dishmaya, lots of praying, just being able to pursue my dreams, it just took me a long time. But I saw that with God's help, I was able to do it.
Tremendous. And did you find the journey, was it something which was simple? Was it easy? What were the kind of obstacles that you kind of found on the way?
No, it was never easy, because, I can tell you, anything that you want to do it's worthwhile is not going to be easy. There were challenges along the way, but I can tell you that I had my husband's support. I had my parents' support. I had my in-laws' support. So they were there for me. The challenges were when finals came around, I couldn't go to all the Hanukkah parties. I couldn't go to all the social events I would have wanted to go to. But other than that, it was really more of a personal journey and personal challenges. I always say, if I wasn't me and I would see my neighbor doing it, I would question, and people did question me, like, Ruchi, is everything okay? Are you happy? And I say, yeah, my marriage is okay. Everything is good. I just want to do more. I want to do more. And for me, it was important to prove that being devoutly Hasidic and committed and being successful in law are not mutually exclusive. I can do both. So it was my personal journey, my personal challenge. I never thought it would be something that people would want to interview me about. It was just my personal challenge.
Amazing. I mean, just on that point, because I know some of our listeners, our viewers out there, they might not know what it means, a Hasidic rather than a Jewish or Haredi or any other different forms or terms that are thrown around. So when you say you're a Hasidic lady, what does that mean? And how would you explain that to somebody?
So Hasidism is a branch of Judaism. And we are usually the strictest when it comes to all the rules, whether they relate to how I dress, how I cover my hair, the food that we eat. But if you don't really know us well, it's really hard to understand the distinction. It's really a community where we celebrate a lot together. There's a lot of we try to bring joy into Judaism. And that's so much part of our observance. To the outsider, it may seem like, oh, it's extremism, but it's not. It's really what grounds us and what connects us to God. So if you look at us and you get to know us intimately, then you'll know really what it means. You could read books about us. You can see shows about us. Not always are they very accurate. But I'm one of the people that really like talking about it because I've learned that there are so many misconceptions about us. And if you let people make assumptions, they usually will be wrong. So I'm here to clear the air and tell it like it is.
Okay, thank you so much. Judge Freier, we've got actually Nicole here on the line who's got a question for you. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I actually watched the video on the JLE page earlier as well to learn a bit more about you. Your story sounds so inspiring and kind of, I think, will inspire a lot of people to kind of go and achieve what they want to do as well. I'm actually calling because a lot of me and my friends have been watching Unorthodox on Netflix, and I know it's kind of sparked a lot of controversy amongst so many people, and life for Hasidic women. It portrays it in quite a negative light, but the way that you're explaining things and how you grew up seems so positive. So I suppose my question really is how kind of true is the portrayal of the life in Unorthodox? Because I think for a lot of people it does seem quite kind of truthful, but when you're listening to you, it doesn't sound it at all.
No, I think that I can really truly only speak for myself and my children, everybody that I know. But I think that most of us really have a very positive upbringing and are very happy in the world that we live. I know that Unorthodox, the Netflix series, is based on a book that was written many years ago. I know the book that was written, I made sure to read it, and I made sure to, confront the author when she was doing the signing of her book to say, you may have had a negative experience and maybe experienced some trauma, and I can't take that away from her because trauma can exist in any society. But I think by and large, growing up as a Hasidic girl, we're happy, and I think many things in the film were exaggerations of the truth. The way I got married wasn't like that. The way I marry off my children isn't like that. But we do work with a certain system where parents are involved and children aren't just left on their own to go and find a husband or a wife. So my experience and the life that we live is one of really joy. There are rules, I always joke that when I became a judge and I learned about all the rules that apply to judges, I just fit right in because all my life I've been living by the rules. But the rules are there to guide us. It's like traffic signals. You have to know when to stop and when to start. They're not made to make life difficult or overbearing. So I don't think the portrayal is the portrayal of my world, my life, my husband, my children, my friends. The world that I know is very, very different. But that's not to say that some people may have negative experiences. Some people may have bad marriages. But I think that you have to speak to the people who are happy, who have grown up within this society of joy and appreciation for our religion and our traditions. And I welcome anybody, come to Borough Park and I'll meet you and I'll show you what life is really like as a Hasidic woman in Borough Park.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole, for joining the show. Great question, very current and something very much on people's minds. And we've just had a question here on our live feed from Emily de Caramel, which is a question for Judge Ruchi. Has it been hard to separate your Jewish values from your judgment when you need to judge at work? How do you kind of separate your religion from your work and those values there as well? Great question, Emily.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal question. And every judge that sits on the bench has a background. Every judge that sits on the bench has values. Whether you're a religious judge whether you practice Judaism or Christianity or any religion whatsoever, every judge is a human being with a mind and a background. And that's why we have diversity on the bench, because we want judges to bring their values with them. So who I am and how I was raised, of course, makes me who I am. And you know, in America, when you walk into a courtroom and you see where the judge sits, I like to say my seat is the best seat in the house, because above me are the words, "In God we trust." And the founding fathers founded our country with their values. So my values make me who I am. I'm a mother. I understand what it's like to have children. I understand what religious values are, what family values are. But when I'm a judge, it's the law of the land that applies. And every judge has to apply the law in an honest and fair way. But what may be fair to one judge may be different to another judge. And that's why I pray a lot. I say, please, God, guide me, help me make the right decision. So every judge has to learn how to be fair, and I hope that I am. And every judge has their values with them. And that's why many judges are elected. Some are appointed, but we want the people to elect their judges. And in terms of separating it, I was once asked when I was a judge in criminal court, how do I manage adjudicating these horrible crimes and then go home and leave my work in the courthouse? And I pondered for a minute, and I said, you know, I don't bring my work home with me. I bring my home and my values with me to work. And I think that's what keeps me grounded, and that's what helps me, because every day is filled with challenges. Thanks.
Great question, Emily.
Yeah, fantastic question. Very, and obviously keep those questions coming in. Obviously, we have some family members coming in to the shot as well there. Just to prove
it's like a viral moment. Dov, this is a viral moment where we get the kids coming in.
That's my daughter Leia. Yeah, you can say hi. This is my daughter Leia.
Hi, welcome to the show.
She's one of my daughters that lives in Israel, but is now here staying with us until things kind of calm down.
Leia, I want to ask you, what's it like having a mother who's so judgmental?
She's the best. I'm so proud to have her as a mother. And everything she says is true. We love our life, and it's the best, and we're so happy. And don't believe the lies that other people say.
Well, that almost looks, Judge, as if it was planted, but thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Leia is married for a year, and I can tell you that the way Leia got married and Leia's relationship with her husband is nothing at all like what was on Netflix. Absolutely not. It's, while the marriages are semi-arranged, it's not forced upon anybody. And yes, there are coaches and teachers that teach the girls and teach the boys what married life is about, but it's not quite the experience that I've seen on that film. It's really very different.
Right.
Okay, we've got people who are ready to climb in for the next questions. Dov, what was the next question that you had for the judge?
Yeah, so, the question next, I mean, I was lucky enough to speak to the judge yesterday. We had a little chat before the show to just get the sound check and to ask some questions. And as I was talking to you, the walkie-talkies were going off. You were answering calls left, right, and center. So
it's always with me. Here's my radio.
It's there with you even now. So you're somebody who's been, you know, it seems to be from the first moment you've been breaking through, always asking yourself the question, what can I do next? And I believe that you, even in the community, have started projects, you know, for the betterment of the community, including one which is a hatzalah for women. Do you want to tell us about this hatzalah for women that you've started?
Yes,
not that you're busy or anything to start a whole.
I'm sorry.
Not like you're busy or anything to start a whole new project, but
so I'll tell you why I did it. Because when women came over to me and asked me to help them, is there an echo, by the way? I hear an echo when I'm speaking now.
No, we don't have an echo. We're fine.
Okay, fine. So it was a group of women who asked me to help them as an attorney to advocate for them. They were EMTs, and they wanted to join the very respected EMT agency that exists here in New York called Hatzalah. And I grew up knowing that those men that volunteer are incredible volunteers and that they save lives. But what I didn't know is that women weren't allowed to join. Now, the worst thing that anyone can do to me is tell me that I can't do something because I'm a religious woman, because I will not accept that. I will say there has to be a way that it can be done, because the Torah that God gave us is not a Torah that's just going to tie us and restrict us. It guides us. There has to be a way that it can work out. And what I've learned is that women who really wanted to join were foreclosed from joining, but it was people who, in my opinion, were misusing religion and saying that women couldn't do it because the Jewish religion didn't allow it. And that's something that I won't tolerate. So I had opponents that came out against me and saying, oh, this is Rachel Freier's radical feminist agenda. And I had all the media, asking me questions. And this is all about Rachel Freier with her women's rights. And I said, no. It's not about women's rights. It's just that most of the time women are right, especially when it comes to our medical care. So I fought for it because I felt that this is something that has to be changed. And change can only come from within. Only when you live the life of my community can you bring change. And my community is just too important to me. I value my life too much. And I understood the dynamics. I understood the politics that was going on and the power play that was going on. And I said, if I became a lawyer for this cause alone to help other women, I'm going to fight this battle. So my husband, thank God, is always there supporting me. And my kids are there supporting me. And I've learned how to become an EMT. Then I became a paramedic. And I think every woman can do this. So it wasn't because I had this desire to study medicine. That just came afterwards. It was my desire to show that Jewish women can be Hasidic and we can do things. There's nothing that we cannot do. And if someone tells me no, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And that's what it was.
But it's truly incredible. I have to say that you've kind of made history in so many ways, both in the legal side of your career and also in creating a hatzalah for women by women. I don't think it's anywhere else in the world right now. Am I correct?
You are correct. But actually, we did have a very strong influence in Israel, because United Hatzalah of Israel and Magen David Adom actually did start a Haredi women's division when we were advocating for Ezras Nashim here in the States.
Wow, that's really amazing. And it's real privilege and honor to have you on the show. Let me just ask you this question that's come through here from our audience. We're literally being flooded with questions, but we can only do so many. Just this question, which is, what do you find to be your greatest challenge in your day-to-day life?
I think my greatest challenge is there's so much that I want to do. There's just so much that I want to accomplish and just never enough time. Well, just like so much more that I want to study and so much more that I want to do and help so many more people. But there's only 24 hours in the day. So I think that is my greatest challenge. But, I really think that being religious and having that emunah, that faith that God runs the world, is what helps me through all my challenges. It helps me realize that God is there. Just ask God to help you. And I believe that we were created with so much potential. Every one of us. God created us in his image with so much potential. I think people just have to accept that sometimes things could be hard, but go pursue your dreams, pursue them, and never think for a moment that you have to compromise your religious values to be successful, because it's really the opposite. When colleagues and coworkers see that you're committed, and that, I remember, now when people don't shake hands because of COVID, they all say, "Oh, we learned from Judge Freier how not to shake hands," So when you're committed and you're sincere, people will respect you. It's just quite the opposite of what people might think.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Just something that someone else has just asked here, which I thought would be really interesting to hear from you, is we live now in a time where you know, for women that, you know, the glass ceilings are being broken, et cetera, what would your message be to, in general, to the women around the globe, Orthodox, Jewish, non-Jewish? What would that be in terms of, from your experiences and you know, what you've learned from your own life experiences?
So I've learned that if you want to accomplish something, expect that it's going to be filled with challenges. I learned that I don't have to twist myself into a pretzel. I don't have to make anybody happy. I have to just make sure that I'm content and I follow my values. I'm going to find my way. There are many different ways out there, and people could get lost thinking, oh, I have to compromise this or I have to give up on that. For me, it was important. I wanted to have a large family. Thank God I have 6 children and I have grandchildren. 5 of them are married. And I wanted to not let go to my core values. But I wanted to first be a lawyer, and then I wanted to be a judge. And I had to run a campaign. I had to run for public office. And it's so uncharacteristic of a Hasidic woman. But I said, I have to find a way to do it. And with incredible siyata dishmaya, which is like, it's just divine providence. And there were many people who predicted doomsday, all the naysayers. It's never going to happen. Ruchi, it's never going to happen. You'll never get into law school. And even if you do, you'll never pass the bar exam. And to all those naysayers, don't believe them. If you want to do something, you can do it. And there'll always be naysayers, but really don't let them get you down. That's my message to all the women out there.
Yeah, well, I think actually, I mean, we had a question from Joe. Joe Schwartz has put this question. I think Anna wants to put it up here. A question from Joe. And I think you've sort of begun answering the question, but she wants to know, how do you encourage A, more women, and also B, more observant Jews to achieve more in the public field?
So how can I answer that question? How to encourage? I'll tell you what gave me the encouragement that I needed. So I didn't have a role model, right? I didn't have a role model who people would ask me, well, Ruchi, maybe what you're doing is really immodest. Like, how do you justify it? So my role model is Sarah Shanira. For those of you who don't know her, she was the founder of the Beis Yaakov movement, and she lived between the 2 world wars. And I went to school that was taught by teachers who were her students. My teachers were her students. And I read a book about her life. And when I found that book about her life, I was really surprised. I didn't realize that she had so much opposition. So if you want to do something and you have opposition, don't let it deter you. And one of the lessons that she taught her students is something that I always repeat. And she says that King David writes in Psalms and Tehillim two verses that every Jewish daughter has to carry with her in 2 pockets. And in one pocket, you carry the verse, which is in Hebrew, and I'll translate it. Kokfuda bas melech pnima. Your modesty is your badge of pride. And whatever modesty means to you, carry it with you in your heart with your head up high, because that's what identifies you. But in your other pocket, you carry the verse, there comes a time to act, and you girls will stand up and be leaders, and people will follow you. So that's what inspired me, and that's what gave me the motivation to find my place. I encourage all of you to find your place. Not easy, but that's the challenge. The challenge is there. Don't shirk it because you're observant or because you're a woman or because people are telling you it's not possible. It is possible. You have to just try. You know, in the Bible is the story of when Moses was born and his mother puts him in the basket in the Nile. And then the daughter of Paro comes and she hears a baby crying in the basket, but she can't reach it. So she just like stretches out her arm. And what happens? The Torah tells us God did the rest. He stretched her arm and she reaches the basket. So all we have to do is try and just believe that God will do the rest for you. Just be patient.
I'm interested to ask you. Thank you so much. Amazing to have you here. I just actually kind of pinching myself. I can't believe that we've actually got you on the show. We've been trying to get you to come to the JD for so long, and now we've got you live here. So this is a silver lining, very much of the whole Corona thing. But COVID-19, Corona, you're running a hatzalah, literally people there on the front line, which is an emergency medical response team in Brooklyn, in New York. You know, obviously you are a hero in many ways, and running an organization for so many heroes on the front line. In fact, just tonight before our show, we had at 8 o'clock here a clap for our heroes, for the people on the front line. And we start the show at 8:05 just to give that 5 minutes for us all to really join the nation. And indeed, this is going on around the world. Just very interested to hear what it's been like for you, both seeing the front line in New York, maybe just to give us a little glimpse into what's been going on there. We're sitting here in London. We know the situation here, but a lot of our listeners are keen to understand what's going on in New York and how you have been affected running something which is obviously so close to so many people's hearts right now.
Yeah, it was really very hard. Now things have quieted down in Borough Park. The real hard part was like the week right after Purim, when we heard the sirens wailing day and night, and that was really hard. Everybody was afraid, everybody was frightened. We kept hearing people that were dying every day. There were levies on the street. It was a very, very challenging and very difficult time. It was scary because helping people meant risking your own life. And we had to be creative. We really had to. I myself was helping many people by actually helping their children, teaching children how to take care of their parents. Because I would say, you know, my going into a home, if the person doesn't have COVID, may be exposing them to it because I may be carrying it with me. So it was really, really hard. I think it was hard for everyone. I don't think it was different in any community. I think it was really the same for everyone throughout. We learned a lot about what it means being home, staying home, and appreciating our family, and just appreciating life. Was hard. And we're still going through with it, and may Hashem protect all of us.
Amazing. Well, I mean, one question we have to ask here is that obviously when you're talking about, you know, kind of breaking through, there's never been a Jewish president and there's never been a female president. 2024, Ladbrokes, you know, the odds on bet, what do you reckon? Are we going to see a push for president 2024, Rachel Freier president? Is that something you're going to do?
Well, you know, I think the Supreme Court's a nice place. I wouldn't mind trying to get there. It doesn't have to be the White House. But in any case, thank you so much for that question. That makes me smile.
We've got a question here from Mark Ochansky. Adam, I don't know if you can get it up on the screen. He wants to know what you think about the fact that the mayor of New York singling out the Jewish community there for some of the activities they've been taking on. What's your thoughts on that in the most honest way you can?
So as a judge, I'm not allowed to talk about politics. I can't talk about court cases. And I think that since it's the mayor of the city of New York, that may just border on a question of politics. And I'm very strict when it comes to following judicial ethics. So I don't know if I can answer that question simply because it may be construed as a political question, and we're on the record now anyhow. So I'm going to be extra careful.
Okay, actually, Mark Oshansky was planted by someone there just to be able to see whether you'd stick with that. No, but, okay, Mark, you'll have to wait for your question. You'll have to ask someone else that question. But in reality, I think that the Jewish community in this country, and I think in New York as well, were hit very hard by this virus. And a lot of that is to do with the way that we stick together. And like you said, Purim, which is a celebration we had just when people didn't realize yet how bad it was. And how we were, going around and spending so much time and, literally partying in each other's houses. I think that definitely led to a greater spread. But we do see that in areas of Hasidic life where they have less access to the media, there does seem to be less of an understanding of what is going on, the seriousness of this. This is not to slander or put any of the Hasidic community down. It's the opposite. It's to try and get an insight, maybe some of our listeners, to understand what type of world some of these communities live in, so that they, so that when some of the things that our listeners listen to or watch or are watching all day or reading in newspapers, etc., these communities may not have.
So I'll explain to you when it first broke out, and there was a lot of misinformation that was being fed by the media, and most of the rabbis don't have access to so much of this information that comes out on the internet. We were getting information from the president and from the mayor and from the governor that it's not going to be so bad. Don't worry, don't worry. And before Purim, I did reach out to one of the rabbis in my neighborhood, and I said to him, Rabbi, is anything being done to stop the Purim singing and the Purim groups and the Purim celebration? He says, no, Mrs. Freier, we spoke to the doctors and we were told groups under 500 are safe. So my neighborhood was a little bit behind in getting accurate information, and that was really unfortunate. But that was weeks ago. Since then, we've come full up to speed, and everybody realizes how dramatically dangerous this disease was and continues to be.
Amazing. Judge Freier, thank you so much, really, for being on this show and giving us your time. You know, you said something when we spoke yesterday, and it's something that you echo in your the documentary they made about your life. It's called 93 Queen. For those who are interested, it's available on Amazon and Google Play. It's a whole documentary about Judge Freier, about her race for the to become a civil court judge. There's a whole election, right? You had to be elected. It wasn't just a simple thing. You didn't step into it. But one thing you say the whole time is you have to know who your community is. You have to know who you are and where you're coming from. So maybe just one final word from you, just on this topic of knowing who you are. To what extent do you feel knowing who you are has taken you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's because you have to be true to yourself. You have to know who you are and what you're living for and what your values are. And if you try to please others without knowing who you are, you really can't be happy. You really can't be successful. So for me, knowing who I am and what my values are, it's what keeps me grounded. It's actually what most people would think that being committed to your religious values would hold you back. But actually, it was what propelled me to success, is because I always believed God runs the world, and he still does. And if God wants it to happen, it's going to happen, regardless of what anyone will tell you. So know who you are, know where you come from, and always believe in your potential.
Amazing. We are getting tons of comments coming up here. You can see them as well. What an incredible guest. Thank you so much. We wanted you from all the way here in London to you over in America. We wish you a good Shabbos. Have an amazing Shabbos with your family, your grandchildren, children. And we look forward to the inauguration, January 2025. That's not very eventual either. No, but seriously though, thank you so much. Keep going with your incredible work.
Sure. And please, you can share my email address. I don't mind having feedback, all right?
Okay, thank you so much. And very much appreciate you joining our show. Thank you.
Hatzalah. Good luck to you all. Thank you.
Well, that was truly amazing, I have to say. Really quite incredible. Dov, what do you think?
Absolutely tremendous. And obviously just see the traction, so people writing comments. And of course, yes, if you do want to get the email of the judge, just let us know. We'll contact you back. And she's more than happy to hear from you if you have any more questions, you want to be in touch with her. But yeah, fantastic. Really groundbreaking.
Email us at rabbisunscripted@jle.org.uk if you'd like to get the email of the judge. And also this show and all other shows now are going to be available on the podcast, which you're going to see here at rabbisunscripted.jle.podbean.com. So you can download that, subscribe to the podcast, and get the show even if you're not going to be here. Next week, actually, very excited, dating and relationships during Corona, how this is affecting people. And at the same time as talking of Corona Crush, we've also got the founder of J-Swipe is going to be joining us on the show next week. So very exciting new format. Dov, I think it's gone down well, hey?
I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's really almost time to wrap up, almost time to say goodbye. But of course, thought for the week. It's your time now, Ben. I'm chucking over to you. Let's have a thought for the week and we'll say goodbye.
Well, I think that, how can I come off listening to a guest like Judge Freier without just saying, as we wrap up today, that, for me personally, she's an inspiration. She's an inspiration to my wife, to my daughters, my family who are watching here today. Big shout out to Goldie, Razy, and Chaya, if I can. And really just to say, that ultimately it's really for every human being. Judge Freier was clearly not brought up in a community where there were a lot of Hasidic women judges. And there was definitely a groundbreaking when she made this hatzalah for women by women. And I think it really just shows all of us as a thought that we can take with us at this time is, as we look and introspect during this time is, what is it that we've never dared to dream that maybe now we can? Maybe there's something that we thought we could never do, because really, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you always got. And that's one of my favorite quotes. You've just got to really try and not be scared to fail. She clearly had a lot of challenges and a lot of hills that she had to climb, but clearly she did. And it's been a great honor to have Judge Freier here on the show. That's all from me now. Rabbi Benji Morgan. This is Rabbis Unscripted.
This is Rabbi Simpson. Goodbye, and we'll see you next week at the right time.